Thanks everyone for joining. We're excited. I see the time here. Thank you. We'll try to make it in 24 minutes. I thought we had 30, so we have to skip some parts. Yeah? Just joking. My name is Rick Passenier. I'm one of the co-founders of GoPHA. GoPHA stands for the Global Organization for PHA. We were founded in 2019 as a not-for-profit foundation. To date, we have around 60 members from PHA producers, converters, brands, obviously users of the material, waste management organizations, and around 15 academic organizations. And we drive the acceleration of the PHA polymer platform. And for who you that don't know PHA, we'll catch up on all the details here, because we have here 3 people from our partnership. Yuanbin, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Yuanbin, the co-founder and vice president at Bluepha. I have nearly 20 years experience in polymer industry. Before joining Bluepha, I was working in a state-owned company in China and responsible for international commodity trading and key account development. And I joined Bluepha in 2008. At that time, Bluepha was only 10 people. Now we have over 300 people. But now we are still a startup. We are a PHA supplier. Now we have 5,000 capacity now. And over 300 people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Srivats.
Thanks, Rick. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. I'm Srivats Mohan. I'm part of Unilever's nutrition and ice cream business. I look after new packaging material technologies for both these business divisions. As part of my role, I'm basically the partner for brand teams to look into new innovations and land these innovations into our key products. I have a background in material science, been associated with Unilever the last 8 years. Yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
Adi?
Hi, so nice to meet you all. I'm Adi Goldman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Biotic. We are an Israeli company established in 2020. We are producing PHBV polymers also in order to replace large types of plastics. And we're using marine biomass as feedstock for our fermentation process. So yeah, that's us.
Yeah, so we're here to talk today about capability and availability. Yeah? So what is all the fuss about with PHA? It has been around for a very long time. There have been tremendous industrial efforts in trying to get PHA onto the market in different applications. So what is the magic? What are people looking for? And what are the tips and tricks to get started? And also, what are the barriers, right? Srivats, I would like to start with you. What do you think about PHA and why are you so interested in it?
Yeah, all right, great. So before I get started, maybe I have the honor to also introduce PHA, what PHA is. Great, just for starters, so PHA stands for polyhydroxyalkanoates. So it's not a polymer, but it defines a class of polymers. So there are so many different types of PHA. Last I heard was there were a couple of thousand types of PHAs that are known yet. So one thing that excites the most personally about myself with PHA is that it's about these interesting attributes. Unlike traditional plastics, PHA is made through microbial fermentation. So that means right at the start, there is say natural process involved. And what goes into microbial fermentation, all that we need is either sugar or fatty acids. So there are multiple, say, sources of that. That includes side streams and also waste streams that could go into the process. So we're starting with, say, a fairly low environmental impact sources. And this is the beginning of life of PHA. When we look at the end of life attributes, it has some very interesting property profiles. So first of all, it is compostable both in industrial and home conditions. And at the same time, it also has biodegradation attributes beyond composting, so it is also soil biodegradable, and some of the grades are also marine biodegradable. So these set of attributes make PHA kind of a unique material that has a big potential to realize.
Yeah, following up, thank you so much for this introduction on PHA. So following up, from Unilever perspective, right? Unilever is a big company, a lot of food products, non-food products. In which sort of segments are you looking to utilize PHA and why?
Yes, I'll speak about the food products because that's what I specialize and focus on. When it comes to, food packaging, of course, one of the biggest issues that we have with food packaging is the residual contamination, right? So often, and before that, just to introduce the vision of Unilever, is that our ultimate ambition is to achieve net carbon neutrality by 2039 of all our products until the point of sale. So to achieve that, we need low carbon solutions, solutions with a low environmental impact. And for that, packaging also plays a role, plays a key role in the product. So when looking into those solutions, we also need to be mindful about, the function of packaging, right? The shelf life, the intended consumer experience that a packaging would provide to the consumer in delivering the product, right? So keeping all these in mind, some of the first applications that I foresee with PHA is together with paper for two reasons. Firstly, it matches very well to the compostability profile of paper. It doesn't negatively influence the compostability profile. And second of all, it would fit into the existing scheme of the infrastructure, right? So currently, paper is widely recycled. So once we combine paper and PHA, and if we could ensure that it is still repulpable or recyclable in the paper stream, that's a very good solution. Because unfortunately, as of today, compostable packaging is most places it's not accepted at composting facilities. So to at least start the applications with PHA, we find that we can design packaging that is both recyclable and compostable. And when the infrastructure catches up, there are dual end-of-life options for such packaging formats. So this is the first application that we are looking into. And beyond that, as I said, there's a lot of potential to be realized.
So, especially on the regulatory landscape, there's a few very interesting developments. Obviously, globally, there's a very big diversity in either stimulating regulations for compostables or destimulating regulations. What we see now in Europe is that, especially with the PPWR, the Plastics and Packaging Waste regulation that's coming up, at least there's a notion and recognition that compostables have an important role to play. One, because 30 to 50% of municipal solid waste is organic matter, right? Much of this is still being incinerated, still being landfilled in some countries. And by using compostable materials, for example in waste bags or where indeed there's a lot of food contact and contamination, you can actually increase and capture that organic waste stream and actually utilize it in order to create biogas, in order to create compost, but also to create other bio-based chemical intermediates, which in Europe we would really need. But also in other areas, for example, in regions where there's much less organized waste management infrastructure, obviously compostability infrastructure is much easier to set up, of course, especially with home compostability, than setting up large-scale MRFs, sorting and recycling equipment for plastics, for example. So this is some of the work that we are heavily engaged in. And also what we see now, you also have in Europe, especially the renewed Waste Framework Directive, which is going to try to create or to allow the same infrastructure for organic waste that currently in Italy is already being applied, to try to also implement that in the rest of Europe. So hopefully this will create a very big push for organically recyclable products and therefore also for compostable materials. Now, Yuanbin, you have quite a lot of capacity already. Yeah?
Yes. Our plant up and running at the end of last year.
Yeah.
With 5,000 capacity of pH.
What are the sort of applications that you're focusing on, and what sort of application do you see, the biggest environmental benefit also?
At the very beginning, we will send our samples to customers with different applications. We'd like to see which application will go fast. For now, I think straw will go fast, especially in Japan and the US. And the film made in the US, and the capsule cap also in the Europe. But some applications we didn't expect it before, but our customer has great experience in their area. They will develop by themselves. We are not focused on that application, but maybe that application will go much faster than we expected before.
Can you name some examples?
The company is based in Netherlands, but we signed NDA before, so we can't mention it. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
What we do see is, of course, there's products that naturally tend to end up in nature, right? A lot of agricultural products, agricultural clippings, gardening products for tree growth, seedling growth, even fertilizer coatings, seed coatings. This is a very important market. But then, of course, you also have products in the cosmetics industry, microbeads, exfoliants, all sort of products where also traditional plastics are currently being banned. And this is also something where PHA is actually recognized to not cause persistent microplastics. And this is really one of the key benefits of also using and working with PHA. Even though at some point perhaps your recycling infrastructure is not feasible yet, simply there's not enough volume to make that happen at scale today.
That's right.
But of course we are preparing that roadmap for doing that in the future. Still, even if you would have 100% recyclability of normal plastics, you would still always have the creation of microplastics in the use of plastics, right? And that's something where especially the marine biodegradability performance of PHA comes into play, not creating persistent microparticles. Now, Adi, you're on a big journey. Yeah, you have great ambition. Could you share some of the ambitions on creating more availability on PHA?
Yeah, I think we took a kind of an approach that we need to achieve circularity and sustainability from day one. And for that, everything that we've built is towards scalability from the first place. So we were using seaweed, as I mentioned, in order to avoid shipping of biomass. The seaweed that we're using, or we've tested, available all over the world. So wherever you go, you can source local materials. And that should enable scalability. Of course, we can use any other type of local agriculture waste, sugars, but we think that there need to be another way of resource, so other than agriculture. We're also using seawater in the process, and we've built our own open continuous fermentation so that the capex will be low and will enable the ability to use of those microplants, let's say, wherever you needed them to be. And by avoiding also transportation of biomass and the material itself, you can also reach a price that is reasonable for customers like Unilever or all others to achieve, and you can actually compete with fossil-based plastics, which was one of our main goals. So scalability and price are what we see as enablers for this market.
I think everybody here would really love to hear that number, that you have in mind for the capacity in a few years.
We want to target, at the pilot scale, we want to achieve about $2 a kilo, and at scale to reach the same price as fossil-based plastics.
And how about volume?
The pilot scale will be a couple of dozens or a couple of hundreds of kilograms. So already at pilot scale, we're going to be very close to fossil-based plastics. And of course, industrial scale, as we see it, I think that, an industrial scale is at least 5,000 tons to actually be able to supply one customer.
Yeah.
So we need to achieve at least that and as many locations as possible.
So Srivats, if you hear, about these capacity increase plans, what else is required for you as a brand owner to really pull through this new material into your operations? What are kind of the complexities, the struggles, but also perhaps the opportunities to accelerate things?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's no one single answer to this, but I can just list on a couple of factors. First one is it's a new material, not just for us, but for the whole value chain as such, right? So we all need to still learn. Of course, the initiative has already begun, but there's still a lot more that we need to discover about the material, about the different types of materials, what is the best where and what kind of functionality, functional possibilities are out there with PHAs. So that's one. And the second part is, of course, which could play much more enabling role in accelerating the adoption of PHAs is having it recognized in the waste management systems. Right, as I said, of course, recycling requires a critical mass and a big infrastructure support as well. But composting infrastructure already exists, but it's unfortunately closed as of today to perfectly compostable polymers. Right, so if we have an opening there, then there could be possibility of many different kinds of applications for PHAs, especially in packaging. That's second. And third, of course, is the availability of PHAs. Of course, it's at this moment it has limited availabilities, so we need technological advances to scale up at pace, and also make it versatile for different kinds of applications. And of course, that also goes hand in hand with cost. So cost comes affordability, so that means more widespread use and more applicability of PHA for different kinds of formats.
So if you would be changing one product line to PHA, how much volume are we talking about? Approximately, huh?
That very much depends on the kind of brand or the format that we have in mind, right?
Small
So
brand.
of course it's not like, of course, only if there's a supply of a couple of thousand tons of PHA we need to start making the change. That's not the case. We are open to start with one SKU. So one SKU would already start from just a couple of tons. So that would already be a good start, right? So the thing is that, of course, the right time is to start now, right? So there's still a lot of work that we have to do together with the value chain and also with investors, policymakers, in order to make the adoption faster.
So, Srivats, you already mentioned, PHA is not one single polymer, right? It's a family of products. And I know, Yuanbin, at Bluepha, you started with a different polymer in the past than the one that you're producing today.
Yeah.
Why did you shift? Is that feedstock? Is that cost mechanics? Is that efficiency? What are the dynamics in that scaling journey?
Okay, at the beginning, we used Halomonas, a special strain to produce P3HB called 4HB. It's a short-chain copolymer. And at that time, our raw material is glucose, a kind of sugar. But now we use another strain named very special. It's confidential. Another strain. We use plant oil as a feedstock to produce PHBH, medium chain copolymer. The two kind of copolymer is very different. Actually, the pathway we even redeveloped the whole technology pathway. Why we decided to change? Because we find it's very simple reason. Because the theoretical conversion from the raw material to the product, the glucose only 20 to 25. The plant oil is 130. Yeah. Even the raw material, the cost of raw material is different, but we think PHBH, the cost in the future will be more competitive. So that's why we switched the technology to another. At that time, a lot of different voice inside our company, because we have a lot of experience in Halomonas. We don't have the experience in the new strain, and there are a lot of patterns in that pathway. We don't know how we can go across the patterns. So we decided to switch the technology. We take a lot of risks, but now our technology can free to operate in all over the world, and we got the legal payment from the legislation, the legal firms. So that's why we can establish relationship with Helian, a Netherlands-based distributor, and Jolly, Japan-based distributor. They have already 118 years history. Before the collaboration established, they all check all our, not only our products, but also the compliance. Yeah.
What sort of support do you get from the Chinese government? Is that financial? Is that regulatory? You know, how do they facilitate your growth?
For my company or for this,
I would say for the sector, but specifically also for your company.
Specific for our company. Actually, we did little support from the government, such as we don't need to pay the rent of the apartment, our office during the COVID-19, and we may got some refund if we invest our plant. We may got 1 to 2% of the whole amount of the investment. I think not a lot, but in another perspective, China government do two things benefit for us and benefit for all the industry. First thing is they banned plastic waste import because China has deal with the solid waste, 15% solid waste around the world. If China banned the import, the world can't be deal with this the solid waste by themselves. They will accelerate. They find the other solutions such as biodegradable material. The policy was implemented in 2018, and the PLA and PBAT consuming volume double in the second year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in different provinces in China, they also implemented some ban policies. The supermarket can use single-use plastics made by traditional plastic, and so on. Even a province named Hainan province, they are banned the traditional plastic, the whole island. And another policy is to incentive the bio-based, biodegradable, and biotech companies. They will if this industry are supported, we can build the plant in China, because in China there are a lot of chemical companies. They have been shut down because they're not comply with China's policy in the future. But we still have chance to build our plant. Of course, before that, we need our technology need to evaluate in environmental, health and safety, and carbon emission. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to ask a last question before we open the floor. Adi, I know you are experimenting with the exact polymer that you're going to work with. how do you work with, identifying that right polymer for commercialization?
We started the company by going to the customers. So we didn't have a solution even. So the initial start of the company was going to customers and asking what they've tried, what they failed, and what they expect the polymer to act like. So we have information, and based on that, we've built what we are currently producing. And the goal for us is to get to the market when hand in hand with these customers, achieving testing from very small scale. So they were there when we had milligrams, and they are here when we have hundreds of grams, and they are going to do testing on kilograms and dozens of kilograms. And once they have thumbs up, then that means that the entire supply chain, including price, including scalability, is there. So it's really micro steps, but it's what we believe is the right way to go, so that when we bring a solution to a coating need, it is a solution that fits what they need, and if not, we can easily shift because we are small scale and we can do anything else. That's how we work.
So I know there's a lot of PHA friends in the audience, so I'm expecting a lot of great questions. Who would like to start?
No pressure.
Yes?
Hello, my name is Álvaro. I work in the National Research Institute in Spain. We set up. Oh, okay, thank you. We set up a startup 3 months ago, so we are a baby talking about PHA. You are the big fathers. So I'm asking you, our knowledge and this spin-off is supported by technology, supported by more than 30 years of research. Okay, we have patents and these things. But to enter the market, we are not doing this because of high cost of scaling up these technologies. So it's the big barrier for us. So we are doing now blends. We are using PHA in the market to do blends and final products to go direct to the market. So my question is, taking into account this situation I explained, what would be your advice for a company like this? And what would you do in my case, 26-year-old future CEO of a PHA company? Thank you.
Move to China?
Yeah, the thing is, I talk with your colleagues of PHA. We want to produce this in Europe through Jan. We want to produce PHA big in Europe. Don't want to buy in China, but I don't know why the solution is buying. It's cheaper to buy in China than doing here big factory.
Yeah.
So what would you do?
No, of course I just made a joke, but please, Adi. Yuanbin?
From my standpoint, if you have IP and you say it's not scalable because of cost, redo it. If you have a good way of doing that, there are other solutions that think out of the box. Biology is very expensive, but there are other industries that are less expensive and they can produce similar things. So think out of the box and try to do that. And if you're deciding to do compounding, know what you do. Go to customers, get the requirements, make sure that what you do can fit industrial machinery, because this is the key. All of these customers, they need drop-in alternatives. If you don't bring a drop-in alternative, temperature, window operation, capabilities, mechanical properties, you are remaining in a niche product, and you will need to produce the product yourself, and this is very expensive and very difficult. But don't go anywhere. PHA is the future, so you're in the right place.
That's right. Yuanbin, any suggestions?
Okay, great. Glad to see young generations come to the PHA industry. About the PHA compound, there's a lot of compounders in the market.
Yeah.
You must differentiate yourself to others. You need to find your uniqueness, your niche market, your unique technology, and so on. And the technology, is it good enough to set barrier with others? Because I know some compounders, they have over 10, even 20 experience in this area. They know the market very well. So But I think still have opportunities, but you need to define your niche market for yourself at the beginning. Yeah, thank you.
Any last question? Yep, in the back.
Thank you very much. I'm Seda Cantekin from Total Energies Corbion. We produce PLA. I wanted to ask to Srivats from Unilever. You mentioned as a material requirement of PHA to be recyclable at scale. Yeah, I fully understand and agree with that argument, but it's a bit seems like a chicken and egg. You know, we have to then promote and the use of PHA or PLA or generally bioplastics, so they are in the waste streams more and more, and then so they can be recycled. So it's a little bit. So how do you see that? How should we then promote these more in the markets and in the waste streams eventually? Thank you.
That's a very good question, and also quite a complex discussion that we are having with the waste management as well. Because currently, when you look at the recycling infrastructure, it's honestly it's struggling just with 3 different kinds of polymers, right? Introducing another one at this stage, when we know the system is not really efficiently working, is a bit of a long stretch. So under the current scheme of things, the best way to start is to align with the way how the waste management currently works. Work with the waste management to also extend it once we have a critical mass, right? So that's why I mentioned, especially when we combine, say, materials like PHA and paper, we can achieve dual end-of-life options. So depending on the infrastructure available or the region, there could be multiple ways. Either it could be repulpable or it could go into compost.
I wanted to add one thing to that. So we also, there are full compostability events. For example, here I saw all the cups, home compostable. Everything is organized very well. It's much better to control, you know, the waste management in a location like this, or in the airport, in something like that, than, you know, in the open market, yeah, or even in industrial processes where it's much easier to control the waste stream. So that's maybe an intermediate step that could be interesting to explore. We're at the end of the panel discussion. I would like to say 2 things. Oh, we have more time? No. First, Paul, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a delight to be here. Second, short word of promotion. If you would like to know more about PHA, we organize 10 and 11th of October the PHA World Congress in Atlanta, USA. So please speak to me to get more details. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.